Hello, and welcome to the Word on the Street's May Book of the Month feature. This month, we have a special treat. Larissa Lai is here to read a section from Iron Goddess of Mercy, her new long poem from Arsenal Pulp Press, which will be followed with a short Q&A with BC poet Fred Waugh. A bit of background on our guests. Larissa Lai has written 8 books, including The Tiger Flu and Iron Goddess of Mercy. Recipient of the Duggins Novelist Prize, the Lambda Literary Award, and the Astraea Award, she holds a Canada Research Chair at the University of Calgary, where she directs the Insurgent Architects House for creative writing. Fred Waugh's most recent project is a collaboration with Rita Wong and about the Columbia River, Beholden, a poem as long as the river. Scree, the collected earlier poems, was published in 2015. Hi Muckamuck, Playing Chinese, an interactive poem, is available online. Music at the Heart of Thinking, Improvisations 1 through 170, was published by Talon in 2020. He lives in Vancouver and on Kootenay Lake. And I'll leave it to them to share more about Iron Goddess of Mercy.
Thanks so much, Maya, and thanks to Word on the Street for inviting me. Fred, thank you so much for coming on board to talk.
Always a pleasure. A pleasure.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. I always like talking to you. So I'm going to start by doing a little reading from the book, Iron Goddess of Mercy. But before I do that, I thought what I might do is a little land acknowledgement. I'm not actually in Toronto. I'm coming to you from Treaty 7 territory. These are the traditional lands of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Tsuut'ina First Nation, and the Stoney Nakoda. I'm in the city of Calgary, also known as Mohkinstsis, which is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. So before I launch in, I thought what I might just do is say a couple of words about what the heck is going on in this kooky book. You might think of this book, Iron Goddess of Mercy, as a love letter to Hong Kong, the goddess Guan Yin, and tea, a delicious drink at the root of a complex set of relationships. The book is comprised of 64 fragments in honor of a Chinese oracle called the I Ching. It also takes the form of the Haibun. And one of the reasons I'm so excited to be talking to Fred later is he's also worked with this form, and in fact, I learned it from him. So I'm looking forward to the conversation. I'm going to read 5 of the 64 fragments. So you might listen for 5 packets of sort of dense, intense language, and then each one rounded off with a haiku. So I'll start with number 26. I'm sort of starting in the middle today. It's fragment 26. Dear Martyr, I lay my bod on the tracks that Jack built, hacked by the sojourner uncles through territories Musqueam, Stolo, Stilatlmix, Niclopamux, Sequepmuk. I'm good till I'm not, till the fear gets the better of me, and I claim the brain drain self-same with a game of chess, queen to bishop 6, and the door swings open to a phantasmagoric wonderland of waste. The mushroom makes me tall and small, too much and not enough, as every orifice tells the truth, squirting text and fluids, the mammary wash of memory, hemming and hawing at the border of sense. No fence on the same river twice, as time circles my ankles, the world snake liquid linking me to the blink of Sky Woman. Lee says we scattered across these Pacific territories, kinning kind and unkind as the role of the go and flow. What we share, everybody eats. But east of put it back the way you found it, we've mucked it, stuck in the loop of hot Chinese money and other liquid link only real in the nimble fingers of Chinese girls fiddling fake flowers, circuits, needles, numbers, text, sewing machines, and dicks, like there's no quick pick, but the Tao of the Tao cycling always back to the Nuwa of my dreams. Maynard Martyr screams it, Dear Phoenix, how many times can I reconstitute these damn ashes? Sat and had my moon base stays, waiting for the wolf at the door, taking score of the more and more. I scream my dream and screen my preen, hungry like the goof, too tired to get fancy with the dance of the nonces. I rage in my cage, the angriest woman awake in the iron box, passing the pox, the plague, the tuberculosis to my grandfather for his insult to my grandmother after the death of her mother and sisters. You dead TB ghost, the intimate meanness of it as he takes scissors to the carefully fitted cheong sam she scrimped for, and the hours of stitching to stave off grief, the helpless greenness. Dear Shrek, what heck? Your love pegs me to the horror of her occupied body. Was his hat the imperial rapist's, or did it come from my Hakka great-grandmother who paid the village boys to let him beat them up? Her determination to build a strong son, protect the happy heart and hearth, the roiling sum of oil, son of toil, harassed and harried by the rotating door of invaders. Dear Maynard Martyr, born on a bed of word nails, I love you for your ferocious hope and loyalty. Full of fear, you charge the door, sword in one hand and a plate of chow mein in the other. O virtuous virgin, iron maiden, goddess of gold and bitter tea. This is number 37. Dear thin king, I sum the heart of your martyrs as horsemen come steep from steppe, raging furious as Genghis Khan. You howl your wah! Of what deeper than disappointment at the apocalypse galloping the mare of early morning wakefulness? Is that light on the horizon, or city cranking enlightenment of dead dinosaurs plus eureka of Edison blinking us awake in the thinning atmosphere? Dear Prometheus promoting promises, you can never keep working the young men, Dear Prometheus promoting promises, you can never keep working the young men up with the cool of it, while young women take the heat. Your hero shines still in my lantern heart, drumming the measure of feathers, the ick of Icarus, aspiring to summits, licking the plumage of plummet, as I eat the plums from the icebox of that sweet Italian tree in our old yard, the one where at night Vancouver's rats ran afoul of Edward's traps. What hap takes its stance on that damp evening when we totaled our losses like cars running unexpected lights at busy intersections? Crossroad presents as crime scene your superhuman power unleashed by accident, the flash of light, the crunch of metal, see the breaking glass. I prefer to pass in this game of risk. I lumber, I lisp, speak badly into the hell of it. When I think of you, I think of how thinking chinks into bone. Ooh. This is number 51. Dear Oolong, if there were no such thing as tea, none of this would have happened. Bone, kukbo, hengpin, longqing, or tikunyam. I hum, infusions a solution to remaining alert to irony, as sleepers puff opium trading the doozy of drowsiness for the carrot of charity draining the ort cloud of our distant origins. Alert in the iron box, Tempest teases schoolyard bullies flipping their hair like Farah. Mine's too flat to feather. Birds gather in conferences, unable to backcomb for the stand-up comedian or punk rock pork hawk. My dialect ditzes for the fetal leaf, unfurling in hot water as English breakfast, Russian caravan, Prince of Wales, or Earl and Lady Grey. I hack for smack, heroin, morphine, or crack, as Jardine Matheson plies the China trade, pirating porcelain, silk, cotton, and tea, items of use traded for the inducement of rest. That's okay. I'll dream my way back into your loving arms race, Cold War or trade war, parading handbags from Prada, Coach, and Chanel as students toss Molotov cocktails against tear gas on the MTR. Our scars glisten bright as stars, fishing for birds in the silver river, a sliver of memory flashing light on our addictions enforced by gunboat diplomacy, while geomancers crack ox scapula for a route out of psychic unrest. What metal could test this, gunpowder green or iron goddess, as my fireworks go up in smoke. I poke for a new Berlin, find a cross on the road as fentanyl crisis boom echoes across centuries of artificial sleep. Perturbed galaxy ejects, tidal stream of stars. River jumps fish. 52. Dear silence, traveling as a kind of love, you protect the innocent from the injuries of the harmed, alarmed by violation the heart can't count. What the soldier did to her, I was so unhappy then. If I tell you, it will be as though I let him cut you too. I don't want to weld that knife, the strife of repetition confirming my perdition. Dear cut, dear beheading, dear 10,000 women, what iris witness killed her? The old ones don't know the talking cure. What if my therapist's avatar doesn't work on the people of Tang Street and the ones who crossed the mountains, leaving their dynasty 1,000 years behind? What if it's only for one God cultures of confession, the absent present people of the on-off switch, and the lesson of my species leaves me in the dirt? For folks who ching circular on the how of Dao, what's left after I tell? I blink in the 0-1 of the whole and broken line. If I speak my hush, what world will whirl back to me? Will 10,000 flowers bloom, or will the violets of violence boom me back to a jar of hot oil, without arms, without legs, without eyes, sightless pig of obliteration sunk and scalded in hatred's imagination, deep as the lurch of my tentative love, the one I don't dare lest it bind you too? It's better to be Canadian, dance the nutcracker of ballerina beauty, white as an eastern snowstorm, so close you can't see your hand. Woman emperor, intrigue by North Star, aligned spine to crack back. And this is fragment 64. Dear Dao, old rotary, turtle shell squeal whistling in flames to name the hell of a revolutionary god. I split my cod, debone at spine to line a whispered history. Astronauts' impossible labor climbs back down millennia, returns to Earth. The E of Qing blusters to Shang ancestry, priestess geomancer of a bad romance. I'll take a chance on democracy from below, glowing in the slow heat of another ember. Guilt shines beneath quilt of magpies, flashing shimmery feathers as Protestant lies down on her bed of nails, dials dialectic for that long-distance feeling, beguiled by the gush of blood staining the shroud of her own making. What king could ding this, melt dragons and cauldrons to brew a better soup? I stoop, regroup, loop Yue for Tinhao, Gwun Yum for ocean goers, Avalokiteshvara of the long march across deserts, Bodhisattva of water, Queen Mother of a different West, rescues father and brothers from massive spiral sea to sky storm. Now her incense coil burns above, snakes from ceiling of wet temple, steps from station of the cross. We were not yet Chinese when Shang was ancient. I dream my being returned to weavers once and future North Star. Dear Tongyun, I pilot my ship on South China Sea, blink my split toenail, cast net for wishes, bungle my smuggle for a pot of rice steamed with salted fish. Echo wagers cap against standard, cues pool table to return love's body, in remembered alphabets, lunar pull. So that's it. Thank you so much for listening.
Thanks a lot, Larissa. That was so wonderful to hear those runs. And this book is it's just a fantastic treasure of language, of kind of flowing over a whole bunch of kind of sensations and themes. I get asked to write blurbs for books a little bit, and the editors then always have, they can always take what they want out of it, but they didn't print my full blurb. So I want to read the blurb that I wrote for the book.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay, just because it says a little bit more. Dear reader, I don't think I've ever experienced the intensity of an epistolary voice performed with such impact as this iron goddess jamming through the syllables of an explosive imagination, then landing simply on a haiku. Larissa Lai's writing in this book is a phenomenal instance of improvisation that attracts and challenges our readerly dexterity. Dear reader, dear deer in the headlights, dear people of the on-off switch, stop, look, and listen. There's so much going on here. I mean, it is like a traffic where a high traffic area where you have to kind of really stop, look, and listen. There's so much going on. But in the short time we're going to be talking about this, I guess we should, the thing to focus on here would, of course, be this iron goddess, the iron goddess of mercy, and it's not just oolong tea. It is, of course. But there's a whole panoply of bodhisattvas, mostly female bodhisattvas, in this book. And the book seems to be almost addressed to them. I almost wish there was an index of all the things that were addressed in this book. You get these wonderful things like dear kale and purple beans, dear salvaged cupboards, dear overwork, dear racial representation, dear class size, dear student bodies, etc. It's just you address everything here. So, but let's focus on this iron goddess of mercy, this bodhisattva, the Avalokitesvara figure, and maybe you could fill us in a bit on that. The one thing that that seems to keep coming through is this sense of, do you know that story about Sky Woman falling?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so it's an indigenous story of Sky Woman who falls out of the sky. She may have been dropped or pushed or whatever. Anyway, she populates the earth, and she uses turtle. They spread some mud on Turtle's back, and that becomes Turtle Island, of course.
That's right.
And and as you say in your book here, you point out that you discovered the I Ching is a turtle.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, could you fill us in a little bit of background on this iron goddess figure that you're addressing here?
Absolutely. Of course I can, Fred. Thank you so much for the kind words and for the beautiful blurb and for all the thoughts about my work. I appreciate it so much, and you sort of help me to think it through. So in terms of the iron goddess of mercy, as you know, of course, iron goddess of mercy is a kind of oolong tea, kunyam. It's called. We often drink it at dim sum, right? It's one of those bitter yet delicious brews that you eat to cut the grease. You drink to cut the grease when you're eating dim sum. But of course, the name of the tea also refers to the goddess Kuan Yin or Gunyam, who is understood, particularly in the lands where my roots are. She's a really important figure. So the goddess of mercy, or another translation would be the goddess of compassion. I took up the term mercy rather than compassion for the title of the book because I think I wanted the sort of the fiercer, more raw, more earth-grounded sense of the term, and so I took that. I took up the term mercy. It hooks as well, to my childhood in Newfoundland, which was at the time I was growing up, and still now, a very Christian place. I went to a Catholic school. I don't know if I ever told you this, for 3 years when I was little. So between the ages of grades 2 and 4, where the concept of mercy is a huge deal. And even as I'm not Catholic, not Christian, I think, inherited a sense of a kind of earth-grounded mercy through that time and through my inhabitation with the other kids in my class, my teachers, the culture of the school. So there's a sense of movement for me mixed in with that, with this figure. But I'm really liking what you're saying about thinking about, I've been calling them maenads and I've been calling them martyrs, but of course you're right, they're also bodhisattva. You know, they're also this multitude of holy figures, women figures who are troubled, who wreak all kinds of havoc, who are angry, who scream and yell and are deeply unreasonable.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, because you're using this term mercy, which is like kind of this nice soft term, and it feels so, in a sense, it feels kind of comforting. Yet we get this all this anger. This, in fact, you call it, I rage in my cage, the angriest woman awake in the iron box, and it keeps coming up, this rage and this anger, and it's yes. It's not just what. Well, could you talk a little bit about the anger?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, the book is in another way a full metal rant. It is the punk rock pork hawk, like it's a it's furious stuff. I mean, the book comes out of a moment in cultural labor when, I mean, we're still inhabiting it, and I imagine we might do for a while. I think anger is a really it's a productive emotion. It's a productive affect as well. So when I make the distinction, emotion, what I feel, but recognizing also that it's feeling that circulates. And we're living in a moment, as you and I did, together with a bunch of other people, Roy, Rita, Hiromi, Mark Nakata, whole crew of Asian Canadian folks through the late 80s and early 90s, right? This moment of recognition, which is at the same time a moment of rage. So there's a ragefulness for sure. I think that's in a sense the source of this book, living through this thing that another generation has been calling dumpster fire, right? Mm-hmm. For the last decade or so, attached to all kinds of ridiculousness unfolding in our contemporary.
But it's not just a racial rage. I mean, it's that too, but there's more, right?
Yeah, I mean, it becomes more than that. So I think part of the whirlingness of it, is because, like you, I'm a thinker, and the rage may have its roots, or one of its roots, or one of its, probably better to think of them as tendrils rather than roots, or roots, R-O-U-T-E-S rather than R-O-T-S. So there's an element for sure of a kind of racial rage at work in this book. But because it's also thinking, it comes to sort of see how there's a kind of reverberant nature to the rage, it's something we pass from one to the other. So yeah, it's connected to rage, but it's also connected to all the problems internal to our communities and the things we do to one another.
Let's direct that in a sense to, it's Anti-Asian Hate Week this week, as it turns out. And
Anti-Asian Hate Week.
So
this is like the 5 minutes of hate. I see we're getting a signal 3 minutes, Fred. So
okay.
Conversation's going by real quick.
Well, okay, we don't need to get off on that, but there's one question I think I'd like to end on then, maybe, is the dedication to this book. It's for Hong Kong, my sweet umbrella.
Sure.
Could you clarify that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I mean, that one's a fairly kind of straight across reference to the Yellow Umbrella movement in Hong Kong, in a moment when, pressure is coming down from the PRC, the treaty with Britain being broken, right, to leave the one country, two systems system intact, and some fairly totalitarian measures coming into Hong Kong, that's really curtailing Hong Kong people's rights to.
But the umbrella is a sweet umbrella. It's
sure
sweet.
because it's it's the umbrella that covers us. It keeps the rain out. It keeps it's a protection that keeps us safe. Not so unlike the Iron Goddess, right?
Okay.
There's a gesture to protection there.
Okay.
Against rain. The rain of all that comes, whether the rain comes in the form of water or political persecution.
Okay, so there's a rage behind this, and all around crisis at the same time. There's you're looking for a kind of sweetness, a kind of mercy underneath all of this.
Yes, but the mercy is not necessarily easy mercy, you know. Mercy is it's an Old Testament kind of mercy, or it's a Chthonic kind of mercy, because it's also a translated mercy, right? Like the concept of mercy in its Christian sense. I just had a really interesting conversation with the novelist Christine Conlon, who's thinking about mercy in a pagan sense, which is super interesting. Her roots are Celtic, so she connects it there. It'd be really interesting to think about it translated in a Chinese, perhaps Taoist, Chthonic sense, perhaps. And then it's not necessarily a sweet mercy, you know? Could be.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot for your helping us figure out a little bit of the the incredible landscape of attention and language in this book. And we didn't even get a chance to talk about the structure of the haiban and those haiku at the end, which are so galactic in what they encompass. So thanks a lot, Larissa.
Thank you so much, Fred. Thank you so much. We'll have to do it again to talk about the haiban.
Anytime.